It is 2 minutes past 4 o'clock. Time for the 4 p.m. 411 here on WLCN 96.3 FM. As always, you're invited to tune in, or to call in rather, 217-648-5510, the number to call, or you can send us an email at 4pm411 at WLCNonline.com. Kind of a rough technical start here. I was fighting with the camera before got set up, but it looks like everything's going. So my name's Loyd Kirby. I'm the marketing manager here at WLCN, and it is the first Tuesday of the month. So our guest once again is Mayor Tracy Welch. Mayor Welch, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So elephant in the room, I'll just start now. You have any big bombshells to drop on us? Because last time you were here...
No, nothing more on that topic.
Nothing more on that topic. Can I ask you one question, though, and you can tell me no comment or whatever you care to. And for those who may not be aware, the last time Mayor Welch was here, which was, I believe, the 11th of July, he mentioned that Lincoln College would be reopening. Some individuals are... looking into that. There would be more information forthcoming from the individuals behind the movement probably in September. Is that accurate for the most part?
I believe you might see an announcement sooner than that.
Okay.
But beyond that, I don't have any other information.
Okay. My question was in what you said. You said Lincoln College would be reopening, and maybe you don't know the answer. Like I said, maybe you're not at liberty to say. When you say Lincoln College is reopening, do you mean Lincoln College is reopening, or perhaps another entity, not necessarily with the name Lincoln College, is going to utilize the facilities, and it could operate there under a different name, but it would be the Lincoln College facilities?
Yeah, I can't get into the details other than glean what you will from the statement that I made.
Okay.
I wouldn't expect it to be exactly the same.
Right.
But the details will be shared, I think, soon, within the next several weeks, and they will share the information out. I still stand behind what I've said, and I think that it's going to be a positive thing for the city of Lincoln. Mm-hmm. I will say that, and I can't go into details about the project, but I can dispel some rumors that there have been concerns that it may be migrants coming from north or elsewhere in the country. Not true. And that it may be some sort of a rehabilitation facility, and that is not true either. So I would say sit tight. The powers that be, other than me,
right? I was going to say you're kind of one of the powers that be in most cases.
But this is their baby, and it really needs to come from them about the details. But I think Lincoln will be pleased. Okay,
very good. So that we can look forward to sometime in the future. Hopefully, not too distant future.
Yeah, I would guess in the near future.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, if you have any questions, 217-648-5510, the number to call, or you can email us questions, 4pm411 at WLCNonline.com. I left my mouse at home, apparently, so I'm a little disheveled today, more than usual. So let's see. We are into August. Normally we talk about upcoming events, but there are no more Third Friday events.
Third Fridays are done.
Had the three... do we know any? Is it too soon to know anything in terms of numbers, in terms of feedback, or other than anecdotal feedback as far as?
It's really hard to derive numbers from that. I mean, it's just really a perspective that you get when you're at the event. I can say that the events, there were more people than we normally see in past years there, so it's a sign of continued growth. Mm-hmm. We had more vendors, so they're actually starting to wrap off of Kickapoo Street onto other streets. That means more people want to participate. We tried new music this time. We had a brass band this last time.
The Skaz band.
Yeah, the Skaz band was great. We went into it and weren't quite sure about that, and got great reviews, and so maybe we'll see them back in the future. The Artisan Market, Marcia Cook and Jason Hoffman over there, and those that are involved with that, they do a great job of making that happen too. And we had the car show, and the event, I remember because I was here from the very first one, and this thing has just grown into something really great for the city. Right. And I hope that this is something that continues to happen for years to come. People love it, and perhaps we can do some spin-offs. I've had some questions about, can we do a movie night since we're not doing a full event? I mean, those are things we're looking into. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and one of the typical things, I mean, this is probably true of any town, but I know one of the things that I would often hear, since I grew up in the area, is, there's nothing to do in Lincoln. There's nothing, you got to go out of town. Well, like you said, there's art, there's kids' activities, there's vendors, there's music, if you can't find something, then you're probably not looking hard enough.
Yeah, and I will tell you that that's something that the city does, but there are other organizations that put events on throughout the year. I mean, Open Arms does Family Fun Day, and they're not the only organization that does it. Right. So if you're an organization and you would like to make something happen in town for the community, and you're not sure how to make it happen, come talk to us. Because while we may not necessarily lead that event for you, we can certainly walk you through the moving parts and make it as painless as possible. Anything to give people things to do in town, we're in favor of, and people like to get out on a Friday or a weekend night and do something that's fun and affordable. Right,
yeah. Another example, I guess, would be the Pride Fest, which started at the county fairgrounds and then expanded. And I am not privy to what happened behind the scenes, but I'm guessing those individuals with Pride came and worked with the city to move it to the location where it took place this year. And again, more people and more activities and something for people to do.
Yeah, they outgrew their space, and they came and asked the city council for a road closure request, and we worked through all the details about it. And every time we do something downtown, it's a partnership with the downtown businesses too. And so we work through those concerns and the quirks that you have to do to close roads and things. Worked out great.
All right, very good. So we're just about to our first break. We'll go ahead and do that now. Once again, our guest is Mayor Tracy Welch, the mayor of Lincoln. Be sure to tune in tomorrow to the Viewpoint program at its new time from 8 a.m. until 8:30. The scheduled guest is Olympia High School Superintendent Laura O'Donnell, so she'll be here to talk about the beginning of the school year, as well as maybe update us on some of the goings-on there at the school since they had their fire last year. And then next week, scheduled on the 4 p.m. 411 on August 8th, is Lincoln Rural Fire Protection District Chief Chris Boos. But as I mentioned, right now we have Tracy Welch in the house, and we'll be back with more with him right after this. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411 with Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch. Once again, if you have questions, 217-648-5510. I mentioned our guest for tomorrow's Viewpoint as well as next week's 4 p.m. 411. Also, if you're not able to make it to the Logan County Fair tonight, the Queen Pageant is tonight beginning at 6:30. WLCN will once again be live streaming that event. Hopefully we will have better audio than last year, but there were some hiccups we had to work through with the change of venue last year. Once again, scheduled to begin at 6:30 this evening, and you can go to WLCNonline.com. Go to the homepage and click the Watch Live badge, and you will be able to view the Queen Pageant as it happened. And it will be everything that happened, so it will be the Queen Pageant as well as the Junior Miss and the Little Miss. And they've got, I think it's 8, I forget the numbers now, 8 Queen contestants, 7 Junior Miss, and 21 Little Miss.
Wow.
So, yeah, nice. got a handful there. So we had a call during the break. A gentleman called in and was asking, said that he went to see a movie this weekend and just kind of got him thinking about, he remembered back to the movie theater and kind of how things were ebbing and flowing with that in terms of ownership and it being open and closed and reopened and so forth. He was just kind of curious about the status of it as far as, well, like when I asked you about it, you said you could go through the history, so that might be the best way to answer his question, just kind of where things stand in terms of and how we got to here.
I'll summarize because that took place over a couple of years, but we don't talk about it a lot at the city anymore, but it's still an issue, is that we have a TIF district downtown, and the TIF district was started to help get the downtown area thriving. The first project was the movie theater, and at the time it was a different owner at the time and working with a different administration, and they issued $2.3 million worth of bonds from the city to get that project off the ground. It did come to fruition, and the roads still look nice along that section where the theater is down there on Kickapoo. Right. Unfortunately, that theater got caught up in a bankruptcy with the previous owners, and there was other entities involved. There were banks involved and private owners and things like that. And it did eventually go through a very lengthy bankruptcy process. But I think it's been about 18 to 24 months ago, there was a company called VIP Grand, and they purchased the theater through the bankruptcy process. Okay. They came in, they rebranded it. It's the Lincoln VIP Grand now, right, not the Grand 8. They own the new portion. They do own the old portion. I haven't talked with the gentleman that owns that in a few months, but their intention is to refurbish the old side and then make that functional again. I know they put a brand new roof over there because there was leaks that it was pretty bad in there. I mean, I went through and it was, there's a lot of mold in there because there was a lot of moisture, and it went through a couple of years of really extreme heat and then cold. There was moss growing out of the carpet. I mean, it was something out of a Tim Burton movie, really. So we were super excited when someone bought it, and to know that they're going to do something with it is great. So it is under new ownership with the VIP Grand brand, and they own 20 plus cinemas throughout the Midwest, and so it's in good hands now. And I think it's still a great venue to go to. The prices are affordable. They play all of the new movies, and so hopefully that's a reassurance that people that are still investing in the community by keeping those businesses going.
Right. And speaking of investing in the community, another thing they've been doing there at the theater has been the kids movie series. 2 days a week they'll have a free movie at 10 a.m. I believe it's Wednesday and Thursday, free of charge. Just bring the kids in, watch the movie, no purchase required. And they've been doing that pretty much all throughout the summer, as they did last year. Yep. And of course, the theater has a huge history behind it, being a live theater venue at one point. I know I played the drums for a couple productions when Lincoln Community Theater had its productions there, but I believe Nancy Reagan also performed there. Nancy Davis at the time, I guess. So lots of history there.
Wouldn't it be great if something like that opened back up in there?
Oh yeah, that'd be very cool.
It would be. And I believe you can, if there's a big party for a business or just a group of people that want to see something, I think you can rent a theater out up there for pretty cheap and work with them to get a showing in. So go in and talk to the manager.
Right.
They got a great staff up there, and we're fortunate to have that theater still.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, 217-648-5510, the number to call if you have questions of Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch. We're here until 4:30. Talked about Third Fridays being over with, but we are into August, so that means the Lincoln Art and Balloon Festival. I forget the
Balloons Over 66.
Balloons Over 66. Yes,
yep.
Is on the horizon. And now, does the city have any formal involvement with that, or is it other individuals and they just kind of get permission for what they need permission for the
They
city?
really just get permission. We have a seat at the table. They have monthly meetings throughout the year leading up, and we have a seat so that we can be there and ask some questions. Fortunately, Alderman Kevin Bateman, he's on the barbecue committee, so if I'm not able to go, there's still city representation there. But yeah, they meet frequently. It's the craft beer portion, the barbecue portion, the balloons. There's a lot of components to that, and they've done a really great job. Now, if you remember, the city got ARPA funds, and one of the things we did last year was we allocated enough funds for those events to continue to operate for the next 3 years. And we did that because sponsorships were drying up due to COVID and things of that nature. Right. So, you got this year and we got next year, and things seem to be rebounding pretty well. I know that a large number of balloons are coming to town. I haven't talked with Mr. Goodman in a little bit, but the event is continuing to regrow after COVID and take off again. So, all good stuff.
Yeah, and since I've already asked you one question and put you on the spot, I'll ask you another one. So are we seeing, either formally or informally, as you recall, there was the big Balloon Fest weekend, and then the thought process was, let's break it up into individual events so that if there's rain on one day, not everything gets wiped out. You might lose the balloons, but you got 3 other days of whatever, garage sale or barbecue or whatever other events. Or do you think we're moving back to that one sort of gigantic weekend of all sorts of activities and that's how things will go for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I think there's still mixed feelings on. We had this huge phenomenal event, right, that some had a vision to break it up for whatever reason. That can be debated in little pockets with your friends. But I don't see that going back to splitting that up. The success of that event and that weekend is that you come to town and there's something for everybody to do. And not all people want to go do Art of Wine, and not all people want to do craft beer or barbecue or balloons. So it gives people things to do when the balloons are not flying. The Park District has a 5K, gets community involved. So I don't personally see it breaking apart again. Now, as with everything, it'll have to go through an evolution, right? Right now, the event is the way it is so that it can operate in the manner that it does. And I don't want to get into a lot of details about it because that's really Seth Goodman's forte to speak about the balloons and why it's built the way it is. Right. But I think they've done a really great job of bringing it back the way it is, and a lot of hard work goes into that. It's not just the city giving permission, it's them working together and making sure they're not tag teaming sponsors so that they're not getting hit up. It's getting all that stuff lined up. And so, to your point, I think we're going to continue to see it grow to be a large event again.
Any ideas what else might be added to it? Or if someone had an idea of hey, I'd like to bring a 3-on-3 basketball tournament or a whatever to town that weekend, and again another activity for some more individuals, how would a person kind of voice that idea? Yeah,
there have been discussions about a basketball tournament.
Oh, really?
Is it Gus Macker? Yeah, so that tournament has been proposed to bring that back. I think the people that are making some of those suggestions are also knee deep in the other events themselves. So you can only stretch yourself so thin.
Right.
But, Dock Dogs is a really huge portion of that event, and that takes a substantial amount of money to bring it in, but it's a crowd favorite. If you've been down there when the dogs are jumping and competing,
right,
there's people everywhere. And so what I would say is, if you've got an idea, don't just discount it and say that's a dumb idea. Go talk to that committee. Email me. I'll get you in touch with the right people. They can reach out to Michelle Bauer, Seth Goodman, Kevin Bateman, Tourism Bureau. Any one of those people can talk to you, and if you're willing to put in the time to be a vital piece of that weekend, and it makes sense, I can't see them turning you away.
Yeah. All right. So once again, we're at our second break here with Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch. We'll go ahead and do that now. If you have questions or comments, you got a few minutes to call in, 217-648-5510, or you can email us 4pm411 at WLCNonline.com. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more with Mayor Tracy Welch. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411 with Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch. Just a few minutes left. You mentioned there's been some movement or some progress happening with the long discussed, I don't know, long time coming, 5th Street project. And you said there's some actual activity taking place with that these days.
Well, there's sidewalks taking place into the city, within the city limits there, but that project has been submitted. There's been some people ask about it, so I can mention it. Project's been submitted to IDOT. We're waiting to get on their schedule, talk about funding, and hopefully we're going to see some movement of dirt next year, early next year on that project. So more to come on that. But yeah, if you've been down 5th Street this week, you've noticed that they're doing significant portions of sidewalks. We have an aging infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, alleys, curbs, and so we're taking those dollars and stretching them as far as we can. So there's some pretty significant work going on down there, and the Streets and Alleys crew is doing a great job down there.
And as you mentioned, the infrastructure just needing to be upkept, I guess is the best word.
Yep.
Here's a random question for you that I just thought of.
Sure.
Obviously, Lincoln has several older roads, including some brick roads. As we update the infrastructure, is there a Is there sort of a guiding philosophy of let's try to maintain the brick streets as long as we can, or is the sentiment that these are past their prime, we need to move to something, asphalt or whatever it might be?
Yeah, at least the philosophy, as long as I've been there, and that's been since 2016, is those brick roads are part of the character of our town, and we want to preserve them as much as we can. On the flip side, when we start working on those roads, they cost more than just paving, simply because we have to remove the bricks. They have to be, regraded and put back down. And so there has been some work done in the past to try to do concrete patchwork and stamp it to look like brick. We're trying to undo some of that as we get opportunities, but yeah, we want to preserve those brick roads. There are neighborhoods in this town, and people move to those neighborhoods, and that's part of the reason and the draw for them to move there is just that character of that neighborhood.
Yeah, and terrible segue here, but recently with the city, the gentleman, as you mentioned to me off air, the Work Camp for Life is, I know has happened in town before, and there was a presentation, I believe, about that recently.
Yeah, I happened to be on vacation last week, but during the council meeting, there was a gentleman named Todd Henry. He's come to the city before, and he presents a program called Work Camp for Life, and they bring hundreds of kids in. They're typically in junior high school, and they're not from our community, and that's what's so great about this program is those kids come in and they spend a week in our community, hundreds of kids, and they bring mentors and chaperones and project leads, and what they do is people in the community can submit a request and they can have work done on their properties. Like if you need a ramp done or something like that, then they'll come in and they'll provide materials and they'll let those kids have an opportunity to give to this community. And it runs full cycle. Their communities in turn have programs like that too. So I think that's something that the city's been supportive of in the past. I certainly advocate for it. It's not only good for the community and the residents, but it raises property values through their efforts. It gets a lot of people in town for that week for economic development. There's also a show called, I think it's called Good Bones, that's on one of the DIY channels. I forget which one, but the mom that's part of that duo, she comes to town for that program. I know she's going to be in town later this year for the kickoff for the event. So, it's just a great program, and I'm glad to support that stuff.
Right. And I believe Mr. Henry was here at WLCN maybe last year on the Viewpoint show with Bill Gossett and talking about it and extolling a lot of the same virtues you were mentioning there. So, a lot of good things to come from that, it sounds like.
Yeah.
We're right up against it at 4:30. Any last-minute shout-outs, upcoming events, anything that I can make you look like a deer in the headlights about?
It's Fair Week.
That's true.
As you mentioned, the Fair Queen contest, there's been harness races and the demo derby and the country music concert with Tracy Bird and Chris Cagle.
Chris Cagle, yes.
Chris Cagle's going to be there. So a lot of stuff's going to be going on this week. Go out, have fun, enjoy the fair, and stay hydrated. All
right, yeah, absolutely. Stay hydrated. Hopefully it's going to be
a special thanks to the people that make that fair happen. A lot of work goes on throughout the year. I think we forget about that stuff, but Dave Irwin and that whole crew, kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, enjoy the fair. And once again, we will have the Queen pageant this evening live streamed on our YouTube channel. If you cannot make it in person, just go to WLCNonline.com, click the Watch Live badge on the homepage, and you'll be taken to our YouTube page. Thank you. Speaking of people to make it happen, thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to bring that. We'll also be live streaming the Demolition Derby on Sunday at 4 p.m. So all sorts of activities coming up. Once again, tomorrow on Viewpoint, Olympia High School Superintendent Laura O'Donnell will be here from 8 to 8:30. We've moved the show up 15 minutes, so it begins now at 8 a.m. instead of 8:15. And next week here on the 4 p.m. 411, Lincoln Rural Fire Chief Chris Boos is the scheduled guest. So Mayor Welch, thank you for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me.
And we will be back with you next time on the 4 p.m. 411. Live video streaming of this event is made possible in part by WLCN's live stream technology sponsor, Me Realty, located at 602 Keokuk Street in Lincoln, and online at merealty.com. The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.